Last time, one night changed everything. A child was born in secret, a father disappeared, and years later, fate began pulling them back toward each other, without them knowing who they really were. Now the past refuses to stay buried. A single question opens old memories, and what was once lost starts finding its way home. I am Al-Hakawati, the legendary storyteller, and today we continue the tale of Nur ad-Din and Shamsuddin. When Ajib was old enough, he went to school, but he often argued with the other boys and kept saying how important his family was. One day, the children started teasing him. They asked a question that made his chest ache. "Who is your father?" Ajib didn't know what to say. He felt lost and ashamed. At last, he said his grandfather's name. The boys laughed, and it hurt him deeply. Tears ran down his face as he ran home. He threw himself into his mother's arms and whispered the question he had carried for so long. "Mother, who is my father?" Sitt al-Husn could no longer keep the truth hidden. She began to cry as she told the story, remembering Hasan and the strange night that had changed her life forever. As she spoke, Shamsuddin entered and heard everything. His heart broke for the little boy before him and for his nephew who had disappeared so long ago. That very day, Shamsuddin went to the Sultan and asked for permission to travel east to search for Hasan in Basra and beyond. The Sultan, moved by his loyalty and sorrow, gave him written orders, telling governors and officials to help him wherever he went. Hope filled his heart, and he knew he had to go. He returned home and began to prepare for the journey, gathering everything he, his daughter, and young Ajib would need. They traveled for many days until they finally reached Damascus. Shamsuddin set up their tents outside the city in a wide open space and told his servants they would rest there for 2 days. During that time, everyone went their own way. Some wandered the markets, others went to the baths, and some visited the great mosque to pray. Ajib went out to see the city, guarded by a servant who watched over him. Wherever the boy walked, people stopped and stared. They were amazed by his beauty and the way he moved. Soon a small crowd followed him through the streets, drawn to him without knowing why. By chance, the crowd stopped in front of a small cook shop. Inside stood Hasan. 12 years had passed since Hasan had come to Damascus. He was no longer young. His beard had grown full, and years of patience, hard work, and quiet sorrow had shaped his heart. When he looked up and saw the boy standing there, he felt something he couldn't explain. Suddenly, he felt love for the boy. Hasan didn't understand it, but he invited the boy and his guardian into his shop to eat. Tears came to his eyes without knowing why. Ajib felt a pull toward the cook too. The man reminded him of someone who had lost a child, and he hoped that by being kind, God might one day be kind to him. The guard wasn't sure at first, but finally agreed, and they went inside. They ate together, and while they shared the food, Ajib talked about his sadness. He told Hasan he was looking for his father, a man he had never met, and that missing him made his heart heavy. Both of them cried, feeling a loss they couldn't explain. When they got up to leave, Hasan felt like a part of him was leaving with them. He couldn't bear being apart. He closed his shop and followed them from a distance, not knowing that the boy he was following was his own son. As they got close to the tents, Ajib saw the man behind them. Fear filled him. His mind was confused, and his heart grew hard. He turned quickly, thinking the man meant to hurt him. In a moment of anger, he picked up a stone and hit Hasan. Hasan fell to the ground, bleeding and unconscious. The boy and the guard ran back to the tents, leaving everything unfinished. When Hasan woke up, He wiped the blood from his face. He tore a strip from his turban to tie his head. As the pain settled, Hasan told himself that he had done wrong by following the boy. His grief had scared the child and made him think badly of someone who only wanted to help. So Hasan went back to his shop and kept selling his food just like before. From that day on, his longing grew stronger. He kept thinking about Basra, about his mother, and the life he had lost. He carried his sorrow quietly, like men often do when they feel all doors are closed. Shams ad-Din stayed in Damascus only a few days before continuing his search. He traveled from city to city, asking everywhere about his lost nephew. He crossed many lands and faced many disappointments, until finally his journey brought him back to Basra. He went to the Sultan and told him his story. When he said the name Nur ad-Din, the Sultan sighed. He said that Nur ad-Din had been his vizier and much loved, but he had died many years ago. As for his son Hasan, he had disappeared soon after his father died, and no one had heard anything about him since. When Shams ad-Din learned that Hasan's mother was still alive, hope filled his heart. He asked if he could see her, and the Sultan agreed right away. He went to his brother's house, a place full of memories and silence. Every corner reminded him of loss and long separation. When he reached the room of his brother's widow, he found her worn down by grief, living beside a monument she had made for her lost son. Shams ad-Din told her who he was and explained everything. He spoke of that one night long ago, of his daughter, and of the child born from that meeting. Then he told her the truth. Her son Hasan was alive. When she heard the words, the woman fell into tears of joy and disbelief. The grief she had carried for years seemed to break all at once. She held on to hope, as if she had been given a second chance to see her son. Soon after, Shams ad-Din sent for Ajib. When the boy arrived, his grandmother hugged him tightly, crying as if she was holding back a piece of her own heart. Shams ad-Din told her to get ready to travel to Egypt, where they might be reunited with Hasan. She agreed right away, gathering her belongings, her servants, and what remained of her life in Basra. They left with the Sultan's blessing and generous gifts. After some time, they reached Damascus again, and Shams ad-Din had the camp set up for a few days. While they rested, Ajib felt restless. Guilt weighed on him, and memories came back. He told his servant that he wanted to walk through the city and see the cook whose food they had eaten, the man he had hit in fear and anger. They walked through the city until they reached the small cookshop. Behind the counter stood Hasan. It was just before the afternoon prayer, and Hasan had finished preparing a dish of pomegranate seeds. Ajib felt drawn to him, even though he didn't know why. His eyes fell on the scar on Hasan's forehead, the mark from the stone he had thrown. Ajib greeted him. Hasan's whole body shook, his heart raced, his tongue seemed stuck, and his eyes dropped to the ground. Something inside him recognized the boy. He invited Ajib to eat and spoke softly. He said that seeing the boy made his heart restless, and that it had been madness that made him follow them before. Ajib spoke carefully. He told the cook not to stare at him so much, and warned him not to follow him again. Hasan nodded and agreed. They sat and ate together. Hasan couldn't stop looking at the boy, and he kept filling his bowl. When they finished, he brought them a cool drink and sent them on their way kindly. They went back quickly to the camp. There Ajib visited his grandmother. She greeted him and served a dish of pomegranate seeds she had made herself. Even though he was already full, he tasted it and frowned. He said the seeds were not sweet and didn't taste good. His grandmother was offended and asked where he had eaten better food. Ajib said simply that in Damascus they had found a cook whose dish had opened the heart and made him want to eat. And compared to that, hers didn't taste as good. The servant, who was not supposed to take Ajib to eat outside, first said nothing, but fear made him tell the truth. When pressed, he admitted that they had eaten there, and the dish had been like nothing he had ever tasted. Hasan's mother told the servant to go at once and bring back a bowl of that dish. Shaken and nervous, the servant hurried to the cookshop and asked Hasan to make it carefully. Hasan smiled sadly and said that no one knew his dish except him and his mother. Then he prepared it carefully and handed it over. When the bowl was placed in front of Hasan's mother and she tasted it, her face changed immediately. She cried out and fainted. When she woke, she said that no one on earth could have made this dish except her son. She had taught him how to make it herself. In that moment, all doubt disappeared. Shamsuddin stood, very happy and hopeful, and prayed to God for their reunion. Then he grew determined. He told his men to go at once, destroy the cookshop, tie up the cook gently, and bring him along safely. Hasan, confused and scared, watched as his shop was destroyed. He was tied with his own turban. He cried and asked what crime he had done, but no one answered. They put him in a box and placed it on camels. At night he was fed. During the day he stayed locked inside. They asked him only one question: "Did you cook the pomegranate seeds?" Each time Hasan said yes. He didn't understand it all yet, but he could feel he was getting closer to the truth. They continued their journey until they reached Cairo, where they stopped at a camp outside the city. There, Shamsuddin ordered Hasan to come out. He spoke sharply. The cook would be punished for his crime. Hasan was told that a carpenter would make the tools for the execution, and everyone would see it. Hasan kept asking what he had done wrong. Each time, the answer was the same: because the pomegranate dish had no pepper. Hasan didn't know if this was cruelty or madness. They put him back in the box and told him his execution would happen the next day. That night, when everything was quiet and Hasan had fallen asleep, Shamsuddin took action. He lifted the chest himself, put it on his horse, and rode into the city. He went straight to his house and woke everyone inside. Candles were lit, and the servants were told to set up the rooms exactly as they had been on the wedding night many years before. According to the plan Shamsuddin had carefully made long ago, so nothing would be forgotten. Every object was put back in its place: the furnishings, the turban, the trousers, the purse beneath the mattress. Nothing was missing. Then Shamsuddin untied Hasan, dressed him lightly, and left him there without a word. Then Hasan woke up. He found himself in a brightly lit hall. He rubbed his eyes, sure he was still dreaming. When he stepped forward and peeked into the next room, his heart nearly stopped. It was the bridal chamber. Hasan entered the room. He saw his belongings. He froze, stepping forward and back, wondering if he was awake or still dreaming. At that moment, a woman's voice called to him, gently teasing him for being away so long. Hasan felt certain that everything he had lived through, the years in Damascus, the cookshop, the boy, even the threat of death, had been nothing but a strange, painful dream. He told her everything and kept shaking his head. Then he touched the scar on his forehead. It was real. For a moment, he felt it might not be a dream after all, but nothing fit together. So he stopped thinking. Sitter Hasan listened and went along with it. They stayed awake, talking softly until morning. At dawn, Shamsuddin came in. Hasan stared at him, shocked. He thought about the man who had ordered his death over a dish of food. Shamsuddin cried and held Hasan close. Then he told him that he was his brother's son, lost for all those years. Everything had been done to make sure it was really him. Only the true husband could recognize the room, the things in it, and the memories of that night. He also told Hasan that his mother had been brought from Basra. Hasan felt very happy. Shamsuddin called for the boy. When Hasan saw Ajib, he gasped in surprise and pulled him close. The truth became clear. The boy was his son. Moments later, Hasan's mother came into the room. Mother and son hugged, crying after so many years apart. Through patience and careful planning, the family was together again. Hasan and his mother sat together and told each other everything since he disappeared. They spoke of pain, fear, and long years of waiting. When they finished, they thanked God for bringing them back together. 2 days later, Shamsuddin went to see the Sultan and greeted him respectfully. The Sultan welcomed him and asked about the journey. Shamsuddin told the whole story from the very beginning to the end. The Sultan thanked God for the happy ending and said he wanted to meet Hasan of Basra. He told them to bring Hasan to the court the next day. When Hasan stood before the Sultan, he was polite and spoke with respect. The Sultan asked him questions to see how wise and clever he was. Hasan answered calmly and clearly, showing he was smart and well-mannered. Each answer pleased the Sultan more than the one before. Finally, the Sultan turned to Shamsuddin and said Hasan was a rare man, hard to find in Egypt. The Sultan gave Hasan fine clothes, a place at court, and a good allowance, making him one of his closest companions. Hasan went home full of joy and told his wife what had happened. She was happy for him and told him to stay close to the Sultan. Later, the Sultan received Hasan's thanks warmly and grew even fonder of him. From that day on, Hasan lived well and respected until the end of his life. When Ja'far finished the story, Caliph Harun al-Rashid sat quietly, amazed at how fate had brought everything together. He decided that Ja'far's slave should be set free, since his life had made all of this possible. The Caliph gave him a monthly allowance, so he would never go hungry or live in fear, and welcomed him among his trusted companions. A single mistake, one that could have ended a life, had instead led to safety and honor. And that was the story Ja'far told the Caliph, how fate can strike hard and yet still make room for mercy. After all this waiting and wondering, the family was finally brought together. How did this ending make you feel? I'll be reading your thoughts in the comments.